Tonight, family tragedy. A mother and her 2 children drown in the Georges River. Also tonight, the King and Queen take a stroll and soak up a spectacular Sydney view. The glitch causing Commonwealth Bank customers to be charged twice for transactions. Sausages and slogans. Voters head to the polls for by-elections in Epping, Hornsby and Pittwater. A Yanora street lit up and then plunged into darkness. An out-of-control truck takes down power lines. And special times for the Trebojevic family as Tom celebrates an outstanding return to International Rugby League.
This is 9 News with Georgie, Gardner.
Good evening. A mother and her 2 young children have drowned after ending up in the Georges River at Lansvale in Sydney's southwest. Bystanders witnessed the 3 in distress in fast-moving water and made desperate attempts to save them.
A mother and her 2 young children out for a morning walk when tragedy struck on the Georges River. Police were called to Shearer Park in Lansvale around 10:15 after witnesses spotted the family struggling in the water. It's believed they'd been playing on the grass before walking down to a nearby wharf.
They were on that pier. The circumstances of how they came off the pier and into the water, that is what we're looking into.
The popular picnic spot was filled with people at the time. Many leapt into action to help.
A number of the bystanders that were there at the park actually that observed what happened made their own attempts to rescue the children and the mother.
They managed to pull the 32-year-old woman to shore.
She was taken to the bank and CPR was undertaken by police before she was handed over to the ambulance service. Unfortunately, she passed away.
More emergency services crews arrived quickly after.
We ended up having 10 boats on the water and around 70 members.
But hopes of rescuing the children faded fast. Police divers using a sonar imaging camera to pierce through the muddy water, retrieving the bodies of a 5-year-old girl and 7-year-old boy just metres from the jetty. Police say this mother and her young children were alone at the time. Their family, who lives in the area, were contacted by officers who broke the news to them hours later.
These are completely tragic circumstances. I think anybody can feel for these circumstances, not just the family, but anybody that observed what happened. It's beyond words how tragic it would be for people that observe what happened and for the family.
Tonight, the search for answers continues.
It's a current coronial investigation as we move forward.
In Lansvale, James Wilson, 9 News.
King Charles and Queen Camilla have spent their first day in Sydney taking in our famous harbour views. It was a rest day for the royals ahead of a busy but pared-back schedule due to the King's health.
They're used to balcony appearances, but none quite like this. From Admiralty House at Kirribilli, King Charles and Queen Camilla soaking up Sydney Harbour. The sun shining as they stroll the lawn, the King in cream chinos and a sports coat, Camilla a blue sundress and a navy cardigan. Escorted by a staff member, the Queen taking in the Opera House view. Later, the King swapping his jacket for a pair of aviator sunglasses. Lounging on a chair while talking on the phone. The Queen appearing in a white caftan with a cup of tea. The royal couple touching down in Sydney on an Australian Air Force plane last night, moments before a powerful storm rolling through. Clutching an umbrella, the Queen carefully making her way to the tarmac. Wearing one of her favourite royal blue dresses from British designer Fiona Clare, pinned on her chest, a nod to Australia, the wattle brooch. The couple greeted by dignitaries including the Governor-General and Prime Minister, and 12-year-old Kai from Adelaide, who has a blood condition his dream to meet the King and Queen, granted by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Handing a posy of Australian natives to Her Majesty alongside his sister Charlotte.
She commented on the weather and the flowers, saying how nice the flowers were, not so much the weather.
The weather also delaying the Queen Elizabeth cruise ship leaving Circular Quay, which in turn held up Sydney's welcome gesture of images of the King and Queen being projected onto the sails of the Opera House as their Majesties were whisked away for a quick catch-up with the Prime Minister.
And we were able to have a drink and a chat on an informal basis. It was a great honour.
Hiya, guys.
Today, outside Admiralty House,
3 cheers for the King!
royal watchers trying to catch a glimpse.
Good morning, King Charles!
And at Royal Randwick, thousands of loyal subjects turning out for the Everest. But one race, the King Charles Stakes, was the talk of the track.
I have been waiting for him. I said I'm going to bring my British passport in case he's here.
Where are they? Are they upstairs?
I'm looking up, but I can't see them. With a crowd of 50,000 people, this is a sellout event. Call it the lure of the crown. For Royal Randwick, the Royal Tour is a success.
To have that race, King Charles III named after him, and what an amazing experience.
God save the King.
In Kirribilli, Ruth Wynne-Williams, 9 News.
Well, our reporters are at Kirribilli and North Sydney tonight. First to Ruth Wynne-Williams at Admiralty House in Kirribilli. And Ruth, the King and Queen have had a low-key day.
Georgie, we didn't see the royal couple trackside, the King and Queen choosing to spend the day harbourside right here at beautiful Admiralty House. Today was always a rest day, and that means tomorrow is officially day 2 of the Royal Tour of Australia. A rare break for the King and Queen today, spending some downtime down under before the work begins. Georgie?
Thank you, Ruth. Let's go now to Kate Creedon in North Sydney. And Kate, people will get their first chance to rub shoulders with royalty tomorrow.
Yes, Georgie, the King and Queen are attending a church service here at St Thomas's Anglican Church in North Sydney tomorrow morning, officiated by the Archbishop of Sydney. As they're leaving at around 11:30, there will be a chance to see them, but those hoping to catch a glimpse of the royals are being advised to arrive early to account for road closures and also security screening. Following that, the King will then head over to New South Wales Parliament, where he'll attend a bicentenary of the Legislative Council event. He'll then return to Admiralty House to meet with the Governor-General, followed by the New South Wales Governor in the afternoon. Currently, there is nothing officially on the schedule for tomorrow night, but they'll no doubt still be dealing with some jet lag, Georgie.
Kate Creedon, thank you. There's been online outrage from Commonwealth Bank customers who have been charged twice for a single payment. Hayley Francis is here with the details. Hayley, what's happened?
Georgie, throughout the day, more and more customers have come to realise they've been double charged for transactions they've made in recent days. Some customers reporting their bank accounts are now overdrawn and they haven't been able to pay for essentials like medication, fuel, food and rent. Now, the Commonwealth Bank has acknowledged the glitch, one of its executives speaking a short time ago.
The process to reverse these transactions is underway and should complete early this evening. Customers don't need to take action to ensure this takes place. We will do it automatically on their behalf.
Now, the bank has more than 17 million customers, those now in overdraft or experiencing financial hardship as a result of this are advised to call the bank's 24-hour customer service line or visit a branch.
Hayley, thank you. Votes are right now being counted after 3 by-elections were held across Sydney today. Labor didn't enter a single candidate, so it's the Liberals' race to lose. But they're facing strong competition from a Teal independent in Pittwater.
Placards, pamphlets and the pong of sausage and onion. Saturday serving of democracy. Voters across the north and northwest called back to the ballot for local by-elections.
The first thing for everyone is cost of living these days.
Community safety is probably my primary concern.
Vacated by former Treasurer Matt Keane, the seat of Hornsby is expected to stay blue. The baton passed to local lawyer James Wallace.
This is an opportunity where I can stand and represent a community I love.
Hoping to step into the former Premier's shoes in Epping, Edgar Liu, a YouTuber called Sydney Daddy, pushing one key issue.
Education, education, education. That's the most important thing.
Up against a strong Liberal bloodline, the daughter of former member for Epping and current Shadow Minister Damien Tudorhope, Monica has kept the family name but is determined to make one for herself.
I hope to be able to represent the people of Epping as well as he did. That being said, I'm my own person as well and I bring my own life experience.
Labor's decision not to run a candidate all but securing her the seat. The real showdown is here in Pittwater between first-time Liberal candidate Georgia Ryburn and Jackie Scrooby, who lost the last election by just 606 votes. If she gets up this time, she will be the first Teal independent on Macquarie Street.
We know it's a tough fight, but we're here to do our very best and try to win this seat.
A former Liberal heartland now fighting to hold on after Rory Amon resigned, charged with historical sex offences. His predecessor front and centre, rallying support.
I've come back from the big parliament in the sky because I believe in Georgia Ryburn.
Ultimately, it comes down to a choice between two mums campaigning on the same issues with the same slogan, vote local, but just how local, causing contention.
I'm a proud fourth generation Northern Beaches local, and I've been delivering for this Pittwater community as Deputy Mayor. People don't like the nasty posters.
As a community independent, I feel it's really important to live in the electorate that you seek to represent.
Sophie Upcroft, 9 News.
To breaking news, a plane that has just touched down from New Zealand is right now grounded on the tarmac at Sydney Airport due to a safety threat. Flight NZ247 arrived from Wellington about half an hour ago. Paramedics and firefighters have been called to the scene. We will bring you more details as we get them into the newsroom. A man and an 11-year-old girl have died in a crash on the state's mid-north coast after their car ran off the road and down an embankment. 2 boys were also in the vehicle and are tonight recovering in hospital. It was a concerned relative who raised the alarm.
A white sheet shielding passing cars from a shocking sight. The wreckage of an SUV after a crash which killed a 45-year-old man and an 11-year-old girl. 2 young boys airlifted to hospital. Concerned relative raising the alarm in the middle of the night.
The concerns were based around the fact that the persons were believed to be travelling to a relative's residence and they failed to arrive.
Around 3 a.m, 2 hours after that phone call, officers found the SUV down an embankment off the Buckets Way, a long winding rural road near Gloucester, around a 3-hour drive north of Sydney. 2 young boys trapped in the vehicle before they were freed and airlifted to John Hunter Hospital. One of them, a 9-year-old, suffering significant fractures to both his legs, and an 8-year-old physically unscathed but in shock. Investigators now appealing for anyone who may have seen the crash.
Also any witnesses that may have witnessed an earlier minor crash involving that vehicle in the region.
269 people now losing their lives on New South Wales roads this year. Hayley Francis, 9 News.
Hamas remains defiant following the death of its leader Yahya Sinwar, vowing it will only strengthen the militant group. The assassination has world leaders adamant that now is the time to secure a ceasefire in Gaza.
The moment Israel got their man. The IDF releasing this video, it says, shows a tank firing into the building where, unbeknownst to them at the time, Yahya Sinwar was barricaded. In the Hamas leader's final moments, he sat hunched, injured, hurling a stick at a drone. Israel described it as pathetic. Hamas says it shows he fought bravely to the end. Allah chose him as a martyr, a political official says, the first time the terror group has spoken since Sinwar's death, remaining defiant that his demise will only strengthen them. In Jordan and Yemen, crowds took to the streets to celebrate Sinwar's life. Together in Berlin, the leaders of the US, UK, France and Germany united in declaring there's an immediate necessity to end the war.
The death of the leader of Hamas represents a moment of justice.
The answer is diplomacy. And now we must make the most of this moment.
But a ceasefire may remain elusive as Hezbollah and Iran back Hamas's statements, warning this pivotal point in the war will only harden the resolve and determination of the resistance. In London, Jessica Millward, 9 News.
Police want help in finding a group of men behind this home invasion at Casula earlier this month. 2 people inside the home were allegedly held at gunpoint and had their hands tied up before the thieves took off with jewellery. Officers have seized a car they believe was used by the robbers. The Broncos are in damage control tonight after star player Ezra Mam was involved in a crash that injured 3 people, including a girl. Mam's ute collided with an Uber in Brisbane. Minutes later, he allegedly failed a drug test.
A confronting scene after a head-on crash. On one side, a little girl shaken, wrapped in a blanket, surrounded by paramedics. On the other, one of the country's brightest sporting stars, Ezra Mam, allegedly behind the wheel of this ute when it collided with an Uber. The 21-year-old, fresh off signing a new multi-million-dollar deal, touted a future Origin star. This photo snapped just moments before he allegedly tested positive to a roadside drug test. CCTV captured the seconds before the smash. Just after 5 o'clock, Mam's sponsored Ford Ute seen crossing onto the wrong side of the road. The moment of impact just out of shot. This, the aftermath. Simpsons Road in Brisbane's west shut down. Paramedics whisking the woman and her daughter to hospital in a stable condition. While Mam was tested at the scene, police say he returned a blood alcohol reading of 0, but a positive result for drugs. Mam then taken in the back of this ambulance with a police escort, detained for further blood tests at hospital. The results of those tests, police say, could take weeks. The Ford Ranger loaded onto a tow truck, taken away. Police also alleging Mam was driving unlicensed. No charges have yet been laid.
Unsure all the details, but at the end of the day, yeah, you never want to see any of your players get hurt or injured or anything like that. Yeah, hopefully he's fine.
The Broncos have told 9 News the NRL's integrity unit has been made aware of the matter. The club eager to stress that Mam's thoughts are both with the driver and passengers of the other car. It's not Mam's first controversy this year. Just last month, the 21-year-old made headlines with Broncos teammate Reece Walsh, investigated by the NRL over claims a member of the public's mobile phone was damaged during a night out in Bali. 9 News understands new coach Michael Maguire was briefed on last night's ordeal and is said to be furious. Bailey Kenzie, 9 News.
The political contest over housing is heating up, with the federal opposition unveiling a plan to unlock access to 500,000 homes. Both Peter Dutton and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese were in Western Australia today, selling their version of the Australian dream.
Peter Dutton out and about in the West with a new plan for housing.
Mate, you'll be the greatest housing minister ever.
If a coalition government is elected next year.
I want to make sure that we can build these homes and backyards and make sure that young Australians have hope again.
They say the way to do that is with a $5 billion federal investment in critical infrastructure to connect potential new housing sites to water, power, sewerage and access roads.
We're here today to say that we're introducing 500,000 additional blocks of land into the market so that those people can move from rent to home ownership.
The plan welcomed by the industry.
We cannot build until infrastructure is in place.
We've got developments in Sydney that are just sitting waiting for the delivery of sewage, for instance.
Peter Dutton also announcing a freeze on the National Construction Code in a bid to reduce red tape.
It's crippling and it's adding cost. We reckon it probably adds at least $30,000 to the cost of a new home.
The Prime Minister also in WA.
Hi, how you going?
Hoping to hold on to votes in the must-win state with his own housing plan.
We've got a $32 billion Homes for Australia plan. They're going to spend less money, not more.
The claims the coalition are making here are absolutely fanciful.
With building starts at a decade low and home ownership out of reach for many Australians, all parties are ramping up their pitch to voters on housing, sure to be a major factor at next year's election. Amanda Kopp, 9 News.
It is time now for a check of today's weather. Hi, Belinda.
Hi, Georgie. Plenty of sunshine this morning with westerly winds. That southerly change arriving earlier than expected, bringing a few scattered showers this afternoon. Those cooler winds capping temperatures, so we hit our maximum a lot earlier than usual, the city peaking at 24.6 at 11:30 a.m. Warmer in our west, Penrith climbing to 27.2 just after 2 p.m. Overnight lows across Sydney about 3 to 6 degrees warmer than the October average. So far today, less than a few millimetres recorded, but we got a good drenching last night just before the Royals touched down. Wedderburn in Sydney's southwest getting the biggest soaking with 14 millimetres, 12 for Chatswood and Kings Langley. That southerly stirring up some hazardous surf tomorrow. I'll be back with the latest forecast after sport, Georgie.
We'll see you then. Thanks, Belinda. In the news ahead, sparks fly as an out-of-control truck takes down power lines, cutting power to an entire street. in Yanora. Grave threat. Thousands of North Korean troops in Russia preparing to fight against Ukraine. A national blackout cripples Cuba, plunging it into darkness. And there are millions of pigeons in New York, but one giant one has residence in a flap. A street at Yanora in Sydney southwest has been left without electricity for hours after a truck slammed into a power pole. The driver wasn't hurt, but residents say it's another reason for Fairfield Council to improve road safety.
10:40 p.m. at Yanora, a work truck loses control on Railway Street, smashing through 2 front yards, taking out fences and bringing down power lines.
All I heard was just like an earthquake sound. The house started shaking.
Sparks still flying as the driver crawls out of the front window, scrambling to safety in Bassam's driveway.
Truck driver, him sit here and the power fire everywhere. Him scared, he cry, worry.
Very surprised. Yeah, after the power lines are going off and it's still alive.
Big accident, mate. Big accident in my house.
The driver upset with just a few cuts and bruises.
Your driver? Why are you crying?
The 22-year-old man was checked over by paramedics before he was taken to Liverpool Hospital as a precaution. The street shut down as work began to restore power. By midday, it was back on, but the clean-up taking much longer.
Look my car. Look.
Proving yet another close call for these homeowners.
I was outside 10 minutes before actually this impact, just taking the rubbishes out. Really needed this road to be safety. There's older people just up the road.
Residents say Railway Street is notorious for crashes, some even pleading to council to install a speed bump.
Perfect council, please do something for this street.
I feel like moving out, to be honest.
At Yanora, Erin Ramsey, 9 News.
There are further reports that North Korea has dispatched troops to fight for Russia as it wages war against Ukraine. South Korea's intelligence agency says at least 1,500 soldiers have travelled to the port city of Vladivostok and are currently undergoing training. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky has described the development as the first step to a world war. Cuba has been plunged into darkness, the entire Caribbean island experiencing a blackout after one of its main power plants collapsed. It forced the government to implement emergency methods to slash demand, shutting down certain workplaces and cancelling non-essential services. New York is home to 9 million pigeons, but only one like this. A 5-metre-tall aluminium statue of a pigeon has been installed in Manhattan, the enormous bird looming over the city streets. It's named Dinosaur in a nod to its scale. Coming up in 9 News, more on breaking news from Sydney Airport, where a security scare has grounded a flight from New Zealand on the tarmac. Emotional scenes as Liam Payne's father reads tributes to his son at the hotel where the One Direction star died. Barack Obama hits the campaign trail for Kamala Harris, while a microphone fail leaves Donald Trump speechless. And a cannabis-based capsule to help tackle insomnia. Australian scientists calling for more volunteers for a huge sleep study. Returning to breaking news from Sydney Airport, where a plane has been grounded, reporter Helene Lambestos joins us now from the newsroom. Helene, what more can you tell us?
Well, Georgie, New Vision has just come into the newsroom showing the response to this incident. There are police, including the Tactical Operations Unit, as well as ambulance and firefighters on the scene. Now, this flight that came from New Zealand from Wellington to Sydney landed about an hour ago and has been sitting on the tarmac ever since due to an unknown threat on board. The Airbus has 154 passengers and staff on board. There are still other flights taking off and landing, but there are to be expected some delays given that runway that the flight is currently sitting on is not being used. Georgie will bring you more information as we come to hand.
Helene Lambetsos, thank you. The father of One Direction star Liam Payne has travelled to Argentina to formally identify the 31-year-old's body. Jeff Payne visited a makeshift memorial to his son outside the hotel where he died.
Liam Payne's father mourns with his fans. Jeff Payne reading notes of condolence before placing a kiss on a photo of his son left outside the Buenos Aires hotel where he died. He mouths thank you to those holding vigil for the One Direction star before retreating within. Staff then take him to the third-floor balcony where Liam spent his final moments, Jeff travelling to Argentina with the grim task of identifying his son's body and arranging its return home. The 31-year-old singer is survived by his son, Bear. Today, his former partner Cheryl shared this photo of the pair and wrote of her grief. Liam was not only a pop star and celebrity, he was a son, a brother, an uncle, a dear friend and a father to our 7-year-old son, a son that now has to face the reality of never seeing his father again. His girlfriend Kate Cassidy penned a message to Liam, my angel, saying nothing about the past few days have felt real. Simon Cowell, the music mogul behind One Direction, paid tribute to the kind, funny, sweet, thoughtful, talented, humble and focused man. And from Robbie Williams, Liam's trials and tribulations were very similar to mine. What a handsome, talented boy. What a tragic, painful loss. That pain clear to see on his father's face. Amber Caneen, 9 News.
Less than 3 weeks out from the US election, the Democrats are ramping up pressure on Donald Trump. But the former president had more pressing issues today. His rally derailed by a technical issue.
Donald Trump trying to make noise in a crucial swing state.
We win Michigan, we win the whole ball game.
Silenced.
It's not respect.
When a microphone cut out, the former president left to pace the stage for 18 minutes, growing visibly frustrated before eventually...
Hello. If it goes out again, I'll sue the ass off that company.
On a day, Democratic heavyweights questioned his fitness to be Commander-in-Chief.
Have you seen him lately? You would be worried if your grandpa was acting like this.
He wants 4 more years of chaos.
Kamala Harris leaping on reports her opponent is exhausted and rejecting interviews.
If you are exhausted on the campaign trail, it raises real questions about whether you are fit for the toughest job in the world.
I've gone 48 days now without a rest, and I've got that loser who doesn't have the energy of a rabbit.
The Vice President is turning to star support. Tomorrow, Usher and Lizzo in Georgia. Next week, appearing alongside former First Lady Michelle Obama and her husband. Today, the Harris campaign collided with Donald Trump's in the key blue wall state of Michigan.
We have to get the hell out and vote and get him out of here.
Donald Trump is also seeking the attention of Rupert Murdoch. Meeting him today, he says, essentially to urge him to use Fox to aid the Trump campaign.
Don't put on negative commercials for 21 days. Don't put them. And don't put on their horrible people that come and lie. I'm going to say, Rupert, please do it this way.
Right.
In the United States, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
Around 1 in 3 people suffer from insomnia, which can lead to depression, anxiety, high blood pressure and heart disease. But Australian researchers are trying to remedy that, developing a new cannabis pill to help people get a good night's rest.
Tossing and turning and trying to fall asleep is a nightly routine for Jodie Coleman.
Stress is a big thing that comes from, I think, not sleeping, because everything gets amplified.
The 41-year-old mum has suffered from insomnia for 7 years and says she's tried several sleep remedies to beat the nocturnal nightmare. And now she's keen to be involved in one of Australia's biggest ever sleep studies, trialling a CBD capsule.
I would absolutely be open to trying anything that might give me a better night's sleep.
Cannabidiol is the non-psychoactive part of medicinal cannabis, so it's got no THC, you can drive with it, it won't get you high, it won't get you stoned.
Paul Gavin, CEO of Avecho, says the biotech company is in stage 3 of clinical trials, involving more than 500 patients across the country, but more volunteers are needed.
So we're looking for anyone that has insomnia symptoms at least 3 times a week and have had those symptoms for a minimum period of 3 months. We're hoping to be the first ones to get it successfully registered, and that's why our trial is so big and so rigorous.
It's hard to believe, but we spend about a third of our lives sleeping, or about 26 years if we live to 80. And medical professionals recommend getting at least 7 to 8 hours a night for optimum health. Volunteers will be needed for 3 months and paid for their time. And all you have to do is pop a pill, keep a journal and hopefully get a good night's sleep.
Felt better when we got out of bed and had enough sleep, had enough energy and enough fuel in the tank to do all of the things. Imagine that.
Michelle Tapper, 9 News.
Ahead in 9 News, a very slow joyride that's left a big mess. This roller stolen from the construction site.
And I'm here at Blacktown Showground where the local community is marking Diwali, the annual Festival of Lights. Happy Diwali!
And in sport with Emma Lawrence, the Kangaroos kick off a new era in style.
Yes, good evening, Georgie. Australia impressed with 6 debutants against Tonga. But it was the return of Tom Trbojevic which stole the headlines. Coming up, the special moments Turbo shared with his family. Also, Royal Randwick in full voice as Connections celebrate a history-making Everest winner. Plus, a spectacular crash causes chaos at the MotoGP on Phillip Island. All the talk in the lead-up to Australia's Pacific Championships opener was about Mal Meninga's new Kangaroos, but it was Tom Trbojevic who left his teammates in awe in his first test in 6 years. Turbo terrific in the Aussies' 18-0 win over Tonga.
A hug with Dad after making his Kangaroos debut. There was no hiding what this moment meant to Zach Lomax.
Mate, it's unbelievable, and for me, mate, that's what it's all about, to see how proud and what it means to my family.
The Parramatta-bound winger, one of 6 players pulling on the green and gold for the first time. New Eels teammate Mitch Moses making a successful return from a 3-month injury layoff.
It's everything, you know what I mean? It's what I've ever wanted to do ever since I started playing footy, and to be able to have the privilege to do it now with such superstars in the team, it means everything.
Rookie Roo Xavier Coates hitting back at Trolls after changing allegiances from PNG to Australia.
They can say what they want, but this is my dream. There's always going to be hate no matter what you do, but I'm a proud Australian, I'm a proud Papua New Guinean man, and I'm just proud to pull on this Kangaroos jumper and go out here and get the win.
Overlooked for selection, Jake Trbojevic was all smiles after his brothers returned to the Rep Arena. Turbo turning it on in his first test since 2018.
He's obviously been unlucky with injuries, but it just shows the class of player he is and how tough he is, because he just eats, sleeps and breathes rugby league, and he's as tough as they come and wears his heart on his sleeve every game.
An 18-0 triumph over Tonga means a win over New Zealand next week will see the Aussies progress to the Pacific Championships final.
There's no doubt we'll come back a better footy team next time around, definitely.
Zach Bailey, 9 News.
Julia Robinson wrote her name into the history books in the Gillaroos' 84-0 win over PNG. The winger scoring a record 6 of Australia's 17 tries.
It's incredible. I love wearing this jersey. I love playing with the girls I get to play with. I feel like I just love life, hey? I just want to come into the team and just bring all the energy and bring the positive attitude.
Next up for the Gillaroos, the Kiwi Ferns in Christchurch next Sunday. Nathan Lyon says he's ready to bowl more overs this Test summer to cover the loss of injured all-rounder Cameron Green.
I hope so. I want the ball in the hand every time I get the opportunity, so I want to bowl. I love bowling. There's no secret behind that, so I'm more than happy to take the extra workload.
Lion also declared 19-year-old opener Sam Constas will be a superstar of the game as he pushes for a Test debut against India. Bella Nipotina has produced a gutsy run from the outside barrier to win the Everest at Royal Randwick. A sold-out crowd cheered on the veteran mare, who made history as the first female horse to take out the race.
A rowdy Randwick crowd warming up with what's become an Everest tradition. But with $20 million on offer, the race itself is serious stuff. The James Cummings-trained traffic warden are late scratching at the barriers, leaving a field of 11 for the world's richest turf race.
We're ready to go. The gates are back here in the Everest. They're off and racing to the massive roar of the crowd.
Bella Nipotina jumping best from the outside gate, taking an early lead. But in the final 200 metres, a former champion loomed large.
Up the inside is Giga Kick going to Bella Nipotina. Bella's in front though. Bella Nipotina wins the Everest from Giga Kick.
The 7-year-old becoming the equal oldest winner of the race and the first mare to triumph. Madness in the mounting yard for victorious connections. Trainer Kieran Ma, a first-time winner. Jockey Craig Williams, now a double Everest champion.
You know, we thought she was in career best form and she got her conditions to suit. To do it this late in her career, you know, like a 54 start or something like that, it's unbelievable.
Kieran said, you know, let's just trust it. We might be a bit wide, but let's not be negative, let's be positive.
King Charles was a no-show, but the $5 million race named in his honour still went ahead. Pride of Jenny out to her trademark big lead before being run down late by the Joe Pride-trained Chayawolf.
Chayawolf takes the lead and won the King Charles III.
A false start in Melbourne for the Caulfield Cup.
Now Warmonger's broken through the front.
But on the restart, it was Kieran Ma's moment again. Duke de Sessa leading from start to finish on jockey Harry Coffey's birthday.
How am I feeling? Spectacular.
Luke Dovesey, 9 News.
Commonwealth Stadium is sold out for tonight's Round 1 A-League derby between the Wanderers and Sydney FC. The season kicked off last night with a 0-0 draw in the grand final rematch between the Mariners and Victory. There was still plenty of action with a penalty miss, a red card and an accidental clash between a Mariners player and Melbourne coach Patrick Kisnorbo. A 9-point win over Tasmania has seen the Kings move into second on the NBL ladder. Sydney trailed the Jack Jumpers by 16 points just before half-time, before turning things around in the last 2 quarters for an 80-71 victory. There was a frightening high-speed crash in the opening MotoGP race at Phillip Island. Marco Bezzecchi ramming into Maverick Vinales when travelling at 230 kilometres an hour. The Italians stretch it off, but remarkably, both riders escaped without serious injury. Aussie Jack Miller also failed to finish the race that was won by Jorge Martin. And Tim Tszyu is once again looking to become a world champion tomorrow, weighing in slightly heavier than Bakram Murtazaliev ahead of their IBF Super Welterweight title showdown in Orlando, Florida.
This is my moment, vengeance and no mercy on my mind.
The Russian is undefeated after 22 fights, while Tszyu has suffered only 1 loss in his 24 bouts. And Dad Kostya will be there right with him. And of course, Georgie, we are right behind him all the way.
We are indeed. Good to see you, Emma. Thank you. Next, returning to breaking news of an operation at Sydney Airport over a safety threat on board a plane. Plus the weekend's property results, including a $12 million sale at Strathfield. And from Blacktown to Harris Park, Sydney communities celebrate Diwali. Another quick update on the situation at Sydney Airport. Helene Lambetsos is in the newsroom. Helene, what's the latest?
Well, Georgie, I can bring you some good news. In the last few minutes, this Air New Zealand plane has started to move towards the terminal, and we believe emergency services are being slowly stood down. This flight from Wellington with 154 passengers and staff on board landed at about 5:30 this afternoon. Police, including officers from the Tactical Operations Unit, were then called to Sydney Airport due to an unknown threat on board the flight, but it appears the immediate threat has now eased. Georgie.
That's good news, Helene. Thank you. Taking a look at today's property results now, and 546 properties went to auction, the clearance coming in at 67%. The most expensive was this 8-bedroom, 4-bathroom home at Strathfield, which went for $12.5 million. On the more affordable end of the market, this 3-bedroom unit at Bankstown, which sold for just over $500,000. A 17-year-old boy has been charged with a number of offences after allegedly stealing this road roller from a construction site on the Gold Coast and taking it on a joyride. The teen smashing into at least 2 vehicles and taking out temporary fencing. He left an obvious trail for police and will face court on Monday. Sydney's Indian population is marking one of its most sacred occasions, Diwali. Pockets of the city were celebrating today, bringing communities together with dance, food and lights.
Gold, silver, florals and paint. Sydney is alive with Diwali, one of the biggest occasions on the Indian community's calendar.
Diwali is a festival of light. We can invite all the communities, not only Hindu communities.
Celebrating joy over sadness, celebrating victory over evil.
For more than 1 million Hindus, Jains, Buddhists and Sikhs in Australia, there's something for everyone.
And what's your favourite part about Diwali?
Probably the dances, yeah.
Blacktown Showground hosting a Diwali event for the first time. Market stalls full of food, preparing to feed about 20,000 people over 2 days. First and foremost, a cultural occasion that comes with an economic boost.
Raising money for a community centre for our temple.
We have started a trust in Hyderabad to support the women and kids from the disadvantaged backgrounds.
This festival at Blacktown Showground goes all weekend, but it's not the only event in Sydney marking Diwali, with a month packed full of festivities.
Harris Park buzzing with its own festival last weekend, a turnout of 40,000 people, all leading up to the lighting of oil lamps and candles on the night of October 31. A row of lights connecting the Sydney community to India and the rest of the world.
Happy Diwali! Happy
Diwali! In Blacktown, Helene Lambertsos, 9 News.
Coming up, Belinda with the weather for the rest of the weekend.
Thanks, Georgie. Mostly clear skies over Sydney this evening, but those clouds building again overnight. Right now it's 20 degrees in the city and 21 in our west. Gusty southerlies keeping things fresh tomorrow. The forecast is next. Welcome back. A mixed bag of weather for Sydney today. Sunny skies earlier this morning, but then a southerly change arrived between 10 and 11, spoiling our fun. Grey clouds rolling in, bringing a few scattered showers this afternoon. Most suburbs receiving less than a few millimetres. Before that southerly hit, we saw temperatures climb into the high 20s in our west, up to 28 degrees in Richmond and 25 the top for the city. Zooming out to New South Wales, and a fine day for most of the state. The Bureau still expecting some isolated showers across central and northeastern parts, with the chance of thunderstorms in the northeast. But a much cooler day tomorrow, a low sending strong winds, showers and large waves along the New South Wales coast, while a high keeps conditions mostly stable across the rest of our state. A quick check of our capital cities. Brisbane partly cloudy and a top of 28. Canberra in for a Sunday treat, blue skies and 26. Cool and cloudy in Melbourne, fine and 25 for Adelaide, and in Perth a top of 24 with showers developing. Back home, in a dry and sunny day for most of New South Wales, just a chance of showers along central and northern parts of the coast and ranges. A warmer day inland, 25 for Bathurst. That's about 6 degrees hotter than today, while Coffs will be about 6 degrees colder than today. It will be fresh along the coast, a gale warning remaining in place for coastal waters around Eden, and strong winds for the rest. The Bureau also issuing a hazardous surf warning for beaches from the Illawarra right up to Byron. That includes Sydney, some cloud about in the morning, but then plenty of sunshine in the afternoon. The southerlies picking up in the middle of the day, reaching up to 50 kilometres per hour along the coastal fringe. Just a slight chance of a shower in the west in the morning, and then in the east in the evening. Tops in our west around 23 to 25, and the city heading for 22, but will feel much cooler thanks to that wind chill. The windy weather sticking around on Monday, 21 and a shower or two for the city. A fine day on Tuesday and Wednesday, warming up to 26 degrees. The winds turning southerly again on on Thursday, bringing more showers and temperatures then cooling down again, a top of 21 degrees on Friday and then 19 degrees next Saturday. In our west, a fine start to the week, temperatures heating up to 31 degrees on Wednesday. At this stage, Thursday will be the wettest with up to 6 millimetres and just a possible shower on Friday, but Sydney serving up plenty of beautiful sunshine for the royal visit, Georgie.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Belinda. Before we go, here's a quick look at what's in store in this week's edition of 60 Minutes.
Thanks, Georgie. Tomorrow night...
Had no dissent, had no people questioning me.
You sound like a despot.
Yeah, I was a monarch.
The world, according to Boris Johnson.
Unvarnished, uncensored.
The former British PM's sneaky role in AUKUS.
No. I was the midwife.
And his secret plan to invade Holland.
It was more of a Pink Panther operation, right?
Plus, our special tribute to George Negus.
Quintessential rock and roll star reporter.
That's tomorrow night, after the block. Back to you, Georgie.
Thank you, Tara. And that is 9 News for this Saturday. Deb Knight's next with a current affair. I'm Georgie Gardner. Thanks for being with us. Enjoy your evening. Good night.